constitutional role of states, issues and the gaps, measures to intensify efforts on action and commitment on climate change as the world marks International Day of Parliamentarism. Micro, small and medium enterprises' plights are in focus as Nigeria is set to have a single-digit funding for MSMEs, plus efforts to revamp ailing industries for economic development. I'm glad to welcome you to this week's edition of The Correspondence. We have interesting stories that will educate and entertain you as usual. I am Zenret Dingun. Many thanks for joining us. We begin with the constitutional role of states. And as the second tier of government, states are perceived to be the center of development under the federal system of government. But how realistic have they lived up to the onerous task of bringing the government closer to the people? Correspondent Ignatius Nko examines the major constitutional roles of state governments in Nigeria, challenges and prospects.
Constitutional division of functions among the tiers of government is a major feature of federalism. 68 items are contained in the exclusive list. The exclusive list is reserved for the federal government, while 12 in the concurrent list. The concurrent list is where the federal and state government have powers to legislate on. These include allocation of revenue, antiquities and monuments, archives, collection of taxes, electoral law, exhibition of industrial, commercial, or agricultural development centers, scientific and technological research, universities, technological and post-primary education. These are very significant developmental projects that mitigate poverty among the people. But where there is conflict among the two tiers of government, the federal law overrides. There have been debates on the status of states and Nigeria's fiscal federalism. Maintenance of law and order and the protection of citizens' rights remain the most significant function of the second tier of government.
Securing of lives and property are rules that both the states and federal government performs.
Some persons have continued to call for more economic empowerment for states.
There have been several clamors in our great country on the need to renegotiate, intergovernmental fiscal relations, in appropriating more responsibility and revenue to states.
And the local governments are the closest to the people. The first step, I would think that the states will take to impact on the masses more, the people they governed. One is to release the local councils to be autonomous. That's one. By so doing, they release them to be autonomous. Now, the local councils will have direct impact on the local government, on the government, and the government themselves will be on a better footing to supervise the local councils to work well.
Notwithstanding the constitutional demarcation of roles, the federal government has taken some steps in ensuring true federalism, although not enough has been done. Allowing states establish their local security outfits, the 9th National Assembly amended the Constitution and empowered states to go into electricity generation and distribution, allowing states carry out federal projects within their jurisdiction.
The National Assembly have amended the bill. The states have the powers to go into provision of energy. Look, unemployment in Nigeria, it is the people who couch the Constitution, bringing the power provision under the purview of the federal and making it exclusive that the states cannot partake. Then they are part of the people who cause unemployment in the federation.
A lot of things where the importance of the Constitution tells a lot to the people, and there are other areas which there are laws made for years, 1979, and they need to be amended. They have to go with the time.
federal government makes provision of special security to states with peculiarities. The need for improved revenue generation by states has become inevitable. Observers believe that reduction in the cost of governance, allowing states to be in charge of value-added tax within its jurisdiction, and the automation of tax system will make them buoyant enough to cater for its citizens.
Yes, Ignatius, the financial viability of the states has become more urgent. Thanks a lot. And to climate change. Parliaments for the planet was the theme of the International Day of Parliamentarism as Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark the day. There is growing advocacy for the legislature to drive collective action and commitments on climate change. Correspondent Mitairi Ben tells us how the day was marked in Nigeria.
A 2018 resolution of the United Nations General Assembly set aside 30th of June annually as International Day of Parliamentarism. Same date, the Interparliamentary Union was founded in 1889. It's a time to review the progress of parliaments on global issues with domestic implications. Parliaments for the planet, the theme for this year, mobilizes lawmakers to help address the climate change crisis. And of course, charity, they say, begins at home.
Nigeria is one of the countries at risk, and we feel it. We have issues of flooding, we have issues of desertification. So we have a lot of issues that we are yet to deal with as a government. It's not just the role of the legislature, but it's both the executive needs to have very serious policies deliberate policies on climate change. And I'm afraid we haven't seen much of that. But I'm sure in the 10th Parliament, we will increase Nigeria's capacity to utilize renewable energy, which is one of the solutions.
Addressing the issue of climate change, I think it's quite important. It is something we are going to take very seriously as a parliament. It is something we are going to take very seriously in working hand in hand with the executive, to make sure that President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu also takes it, as a matter of necessity to make sure that we address climate change. We are ready to partner with every international organization locally as well, to make sure that we address this issue. Because if we don't address the issue of climate change is going to address us as a people.
Lawmaking is a function most commonly attributed to parliaments around the world, Nigeria inclusive. But beyond enacting laws, oversight of government activities, policies, and programs is also critical. Lawmakers agree that eternal vigilance is the price of liberty.
And that is the only way for the executive not to stray away from their primary duty of implementing policies. Those bills that are for the betterment of the country, why not? We pass it with almost the speed of light.
The 10th Assembly is made up of professionals in their field of endeavor, and people with vast experience in their careers. I can guarantee you this 10th Assembly is not going to be a rubber stamp.
I'm quite excited about the theme of this year's celebration of the International Day of Parliament. A time that Parliament is internationally focused on a global issue like climate change. We have a committee for climate change in the National Assembly already. In Nigeria, we have the Ecological Office. We have some of these sedentary issues arising from climate change problems, resulting even into serious conflict here in Nigeria. Mass injustice to Mother Nature. That is what has brought about the climate change crisis, which has become a global menace, and we must address it with all the seriousness that it deserves. We must tackle it the same way we tackled COVID-19. We must rise up as a people, on behalf of humanity.
But this cannot just be the federal government alone. The state governments and the local governments must play a key role, because a huge part of the population resides in our local governments, our rural areas. Nigeria is a beautiful country, but when you go to so many rural areas and our cities, you find that the forests have been completely destroyed. There has to be a synergy between the federal, state, and local governments to implement this act, so that we move away from relying on fossil fuels and destructions of our forests. We also have to go into afforestation and so many issues. I'm sure in the 10th Assembly, parliamentarians coming here are very knowledgeable, and that's one of the issues that we will table from the legislative agenda.
For democracy to be sustainable, there is consensus that parliaments, as the cornerstone of functioning democracies, need to be strong, transparent, accountable, and truly representative of the people.
Thank you.
I quite agree with you, Mitaire. It is indeed a wake-up call for the parliamentarians to be true representatives of the people, especially as the world battles climate change. Many thanks. And still to come, taking a trip down memory lane, we will bring to you a story of a woman that history will never forget. Join us again after the break. Due to the world of small businesses. Multiple shocks, crises, geopolitical tensions, and pandemics have disturbed the global working environment for entrepreneurs and micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs. Now, as the world marks Global MSME Days, policies that strengthen capacities and support MSMEs development as well as provide entrepreneurship opportunities for women and youth are being canvassed. Correspondent Muplang Dakop reports that there are plans for a single-digit funding for MSMEs through the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency, SMEDEN.
Every year, June 27 is marked to give marks to the role of micro, small, and medium enterprises in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs), as well as recognize their contribution to the global economy. The business environment has been a mixed grill of opportunities and challenges served on the same plate. Quinn Peters is a small business owner who, like many others, is battling with the various challenges faced by budding MSMEs who, based on United Nations data, account for up to 90% of businesses and 60 to 70% of jobs worldwide, which is about half of global GDP.
First of all, the light issue, it's a very, very big challenge for us. The loan, getting grants from the bank. So if we have soft loans or soft grants and give us time, because business is not magical, it's something that with time you grow.
As the day is being celebrated, young entrepreneurs from across the country have been brought together to showcase their businesses, the products of their personal drive, innovation, and creativity.
Jobs everywhere, the opportunities everywhere, it's infinite, but the ability to perceive and take advantage of them is what is lacking. So what we do instead is to excite the imagination ability of young people to be able to perceive opportunities, to have the skill, to exploit such opportunities.
This year, attention is also focused on governments initiating favorable policies which will induce an exponential growth in this sector.
Government can do more in terms of supporting small-scale businesses by introducing policies, whether it be tax breaks or debt forgiveness. If countries can be granted debt forgiveness, small-scale businesses can also be granted debt forgiveness. Government is also set to launch a number of initiatives targeted at the growth and development of MSMEs as they contribute 48% to GDP in Nigeria.